Well, for an overall mix, I would not use this plugin more than likely unless I was going for, rounding off the highs and maybe the presence as well. It sounds interesting, but I like the original better. Let's go on to rock music. Now for this song, I do like what the 388 is doing. It kind of just makes the sound stage a little wider, if that makes sense. Yeah, I like that. I'll try it one more time on a different piece of music. For this one, I'm not really hearing too much of a difference. So let's move on to another tape recorder. This one is the Tascam Porta 1, which was the initial start of home studio recording. It really took off, as you can see on here, around 1979. Teac released the 144 and Tascam 244 came out. But then the Tascam Porta 1 was released, I think in the 80s. You could record with cassette tapes. It ran off of batteries. And there it is in all its glory. Today, the Tascam Porta 1 is used for lo-fi sounds, creative experiments, and even for live performance. When using the standard settings, the Porta 1 sound is warm and clear. Cool. Here's another important note. The Tascam Porta 1 offers a choice of two cassette tape formulations, Type 1 and Type 2. The Porta 1 is meant to be used with Type 2 cassette tapes if you're going for a warm and pleasing result. However, if you go with Type 1, you'll get those low fidelity vibes. That's good to know. You know, it's hard to tell if it has that cassette sound because there's no noise. If you ever record it with cassette, the noise is very apparent and I'm just not hearing it in this. So it's possible that it sounds like cassette. I mean, obviously, going even between Type 1 and Type 2, there's a big difference in the EQ curve. But, it just doesn't, to me, it doesn't have that, like, it's hard to put my finger on it, but, I mean, it has the sound, but it doesn't have the exact sound that I'm used to because of the lack of noise more than anything. So I'm actually kind of disappointed that that they didn't put noise into this, at least as an option. So I'm curious what it sounds like without the repro head. All right, I'm going to try this out on some of the other tracks. I like what that's doing on this one. Yes, I do like it on this song. Well, you can really hear the contrast with this one, that's for sure. But yeah, I like on Formula 2 what it does to the track. It just gives it a different feel, and depending on what you're going for, both are appropriate. All right, going on to the rock. This should be interesting. With this one, I actually think the rock mix sounds better through the cassette tape emulation. Not through Formula 1, but yeah. Okay, now that I have the high frequency shelf EQ for the recorder cranked all the way up, this sounds more like cassette tape that I'm used to. Again, still with type 1, so the lo-fi type. Wow, that's cool. That is very cool. I'm going to move on to the reel-to-reel tape machines now. So let's go. The Teac A6100 was one of the first tape machines ever made for the sole purpose of mastering. During the development, we interviewed the original product designer, wow, that's pretty cool, who explained how Teac engineered the A6100 in 1973 to be the most reliable and best sounding mastering deck possible. Alright, so this one introduces tape speeds, and I believe it also has a different tape formula from the other ones that we've already messed with. So the new tape formula is BASF SM911, which Tascam says is the optimum balance between warmth and precision. Now, I think they had a typo, or they copied and pasted from the other machine, but this should say the 6100 Mark II. Time to listen to the A6100 Mark II on a couple pieces of music. First, that island type of track from the very beginning. Alright, I'm not really hearing too much of a difference. Maybe I'm imagining it, but a slight enhancement of the sides, a little brighter, and it just overall enhances the original track. So, I think I get this at a VTM enough, but let's hear it on the 7.5 inches per second setting. Okay, there's definitely a bigger contrast there. Still subtle, which is pretty cool, because that means that if I had the original tape machine and ran it at the slower tape speed, it would still sound quite good. Maybe not as lively and bright, and maybe you're losing some transients here and there, but overall, if you want to save some tape, then it wasn't too bad of a compromise. Let's try some of the other settings that have to do with bias and things like that. Putting it back on the higher tape speed, and as it's playing, I'll adjust those. Okay, Over biasing definitely brought out the highs and the presence. So that's more of an EQ thing, but there's definitely something going on there for sure. I like this as an overall mastering recorder. The product description says it competes with the MCIs and the Studers. I agree. This sounds awesome. This sounds very high fidelity, especially considering it only goes up to 15 inches per second. So great job, Teac / Tascam. Before we move on, I actually forgot to play this through rock music. I promised 2 pieces of music, and I'm going to stick to that. From what I heard, very little difference between the original and when I have this engaged. There's more of a difference between the tape speed and then the formula types, although between the formulas, I think there's really only a big difference with 4, 5, 6 versus the other 3. So overall, a great tape recorder sound that doesn't alter the audio too much, but still, gives that little bit of tape compression and that fullness, that extra bit of fullness. But again, not a huge difference between the original source, unlike the first one where there was a little bit of high-end enhancement that I could hear. Maybe it's just because it's rock and there's a lot more presence instruments. I'm not sure. Let's go on to the final tape recorder. The Teac 3340S 4-channel simul sync tape deck was part of the second generation of their Creator series. With Permalux heads for excellent frequency response, low distortion, and resistance to wear, the 3340S was the most versatile quadraphonic tape deck at the time. Very cool. This is a reel-to-reel machine. The Teac A3340S is the 4-track tape recorder behind some of the most famous demos and songs in history. For example, the Doobie Brothers used it to record several of the song demos that earned them a record deal, while Brian Eno and others still use it today for its sonic qualities. Okay. I've honestly never heard of most of these except for the Porta Studio, so I'm learning something new, and hopefully all of you are as well. It's pretty neat though, because this is what people used to use at their home studios before computers were heavily involved. I guess it's worth mentioning that if I were using this in a mix, I would put it on individual tracks, because after all, it is a 4-track recorder. And maybe, just maybe, I would use it multiple times. I would use it on buses as well to emulate that bouncing sequence of events. So let's listen to it. This is the last one I have. So I'm going to try it maybe on 3 of them this time. actually like the low tape speed setting. I prefer it on this particular model of tape machine for this song. Again, this is why if you use these plugins, you really have to tweak the settings to your liking. It all depends on your source material, whether that's individual tracks, buses, or the master bus. You have to just experiment. It's like using an equalizer. All these different settings, whether it's tape speed or, just taking the repro head off or the tape formula or even the transport modeling or even true stereo. Just, touch these, listen, and if you like it, keep it. If you don't, then change it back. Let's try it out on 2 other songs. I'm not a fan of it on this song. Let's go to the island track. Okay. I like the original source, not the tape machine for that one. So moving finally on to the rock track. can't choose between the high or the low tape speed with GP9, but I think that I like it on this track. It adds a little weight to the track. And yeah, I guess that's kind of the same with the other ones where I thought that the rock track sounded better with tape. So again, it all depends on your source. Sometimes you might not want to use a plugin like this. Sometimes you may. By the way, I really like the GUI on this one. I think it stands out better. Maybe it's because the contrast is better. I'm not sure, but this one I really like compared to the other ones. Is the IK Multimedia Teac Tascam tape collection a must-buy plugin? No, it's not, but it is a solid-sounding tape machine plugin. You can get a lot of different tones out of it. If you're not happy with your tape plugin collection, or if you're a collector of all things tape, digital tape, then I would definitely recommend it. But do you absolutely need this plugin? No. It's good to have, though, if you want to have some old school, demo tape vibes or something like that. Or in the case of the master recorder, it does enhance the mix. I think that one, the 6100 Mark II, that one in particular is nice for a combination high fidelity enhancement, but the other ones are more, it lowers the fidelity of your audio source. So, again, I would not 100% recommend this plugin. It's not a must-buy, but it is cool to have in your collection if you're a plugin connoisseur, as it were.
Thanks for watching this realhomerecording.com video. You can get monthly audio engineering news and exclusive videos by signing up for our newsletter. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up or thumbs down and consider subscribing. Have some questions? Feel free to ask them in the comment section below.